The Halle Open took place from 13th to 19th June of 2022, and some really interesting things happened during that tournament. We saw Medvedev face off against Ivashka, Agut, and Otta, before reaching the finals against Hurkacz. After winning the Davis Cup and the US Open, what went wrong in Halle for Medvedev? In this video, we'll be taking a look at that, so stay tuned. First off, what happened at Halle? And Medvedev was one with high stakes during the Halle Open. The winner of this match would go on to enter the top 8 of the tournament, and considering the fact that Medvedev had also defeated Ivashka 6 days earlier, most people knew what the outcome of this one would be as well. Ultimately, he pulled off a stunning 7-6, 4, 6-3 victory, his second victory in a row against the same opponent. However, Ivashka definitely had a good showing, and even though he might be out of the tournament, he could potentially have some good showings later this year. But as for Medvedev, he was now the undisputed favorite to win the Halle Open. He had some truly difficult opponents ahead of him though, so it wasn't going to be easy. Now, let's take a look at his performances in the next few matches. So, did Medvedev win the Halle Open? After his big win against Ivashka, Medvedev continued to dominate almost the entire tournament. He first defeated Agut in a massive 6-6, 2-4 victory, reaching the semifinals. The semifinals were between him and Oscar Otta, a player that has seen a lot of success for much of 2022. Despite the increased competition, Medvedev managed to win in a 7-7-6, 6-3-3 victory, paving the way for him to reach the finals. This time, his opponent was Herbert Hurkacz, the 9th highest ranked singles player in the world. For the first time going into a match in the season thus far, Medvedev was not a favorite. His opponent was ranked higher than him, and it would prove to be a massive challenge to overcome that fact. In the end, Medvedev ended up losing the finals to Hurkacz in a major upset for his fans. With that, his dominating performance at the Halle Open came to an abrupt halt. After the match, Medvedev apologized to the fans sitting in the crowd for such a short match. He also said he wasn't easy to be around in court during the match. And there's a very interesting reason behind that statement. Now for drama between Medvedev and his coach. As it turns out, Medvedev's coach, Gila Savara, was not too happy with his behavior during the final. During the middle of the final, Savara kept giving Medvedev instructions after instructions because of the tense nature of the match. He wanted him to turn things around quickly. However, Medvedev was clearly extremely stressed out during the match, and at one point, he had enough of his coach's instructions. He completely lost his cool and started to scream at Savara in front of everyone. This led to Savara storming off the court and letting Medvedev be on his own, without any advice. We all saw what happened after that, and at this point, even Medvedev admits that he was in the wrong here. Believe it or not, this actually isn't the first time his coach walked off the court out of frustration. So in the bigger picture, this incident is unlikely to affect the relationship between Medvedev and his coach, but it certainly shows how likely it is for him to collapse under pressure. Up next, Medvedev subtly calls out Wimbledon in post. Wimbledon recently banned all Russian and Belarusian players from its tournament in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. One of the leading players affected by this ban is, of course, Medvedev, who is often considered the greatest Russian tennis player of all time. Even though it's definitely a bummer for Medvedev to miss out on one of the most prestigious tennis tournaments in the world, and likely $1 million payday, he seems to be making the most of his free time. Instead of doing nothing during Wimbledon, Medvedev posted a cheeky photo on Instagram saying, "Can't leave grass," along with former football player Bastian Schweinsteiger. The picture was posted at the same time as Wimbledon, so many people saw it as a direct call-out. However, it's likely just some light banter. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Medvedev would make it to Wimbledon next year. Now, in other tennis news, Jody Barrage wins hearts at Wimbledon. With Wimbledon underway, it can sometimes be hard to even keep track of all the crazy things that are happening. One person that certainly couldn't keep track of anything at all was the ball boy at the match between Jody Barrage and Lesla Surenko. One of the ball boys at the match almost fainted because of nervousness and heat, and it was something Jody didn't let slide. She went up to the boy to make sure he was okay and gave him some water and a Gatorade along with some Percy pigs that she got from the crowd. Slowly, the boy started to feel better, and who wouldn't when someone like Jody is taking care of you? Even though she won almost everyone's heart that day, she unfortunately did not win her match against Surenko. Next, Serena Williams makes her much awaited return at Wimbledon. Williams has not played a game of professional tennis in over 1 year at this point, but she's finally ready to make a return at the biggest tennis tournament of the year, Wimbledon. Williams is currently ranked number 1,204 in the women's division, which is obviously because she hasn't played any tennis. But it's easy to forget that she was number 1 for 186 consecutive weeks before her break, which is a world record. But now that Williams is officially back, a lot of people are worried about whether or not she's still at the top of her game. On top of that, her biggest competitor is certainly going to give her a big challenge. Iga Swiatek has won her past 6 tournaments in a row, and she continues to dominate the women's singles division in Williams' absence. On June 4, 2022, Iga also broke Williams' own record of 34 consecutive wins, so there's already a rivalry. The two have never faced off, and Wimbledon might be the first time they do. It's going to be a thrilling match to see, if it ever happens, that is. And now, Matteo Berrettini withdraws from Wimbledon. Matteo Berrettini is the world's 11th highest ranked singles player right now, and many were hoping to see some of his magic at Wimbledon as well. Last Last year, Matteo managed to reach the finals of Wimbledon, only to lose to Novak Djokovic. He was the first Italian man to reach the finals in almost 40 years, and this year he was among the favorites to pull it off again. However, fate had other things in plan for Matteo. A few days before the tournament started, Matteo started to show some symptoms of the flu. Just to be careful, he started self-isolating. Later, he got tested for COVID-19, and the results came out positive. He still hasn't recovered from the symptoms, and even if he does, the quarantine window would conflict with his scheduled appearances. Because of that, he made the decision to withdraw from the Wimbledon tournament. He was replaced by Elias Ymir of Sweden. Matteo said that there are no words to describe how disappointed he is. He said even though the dream is over for this year, he is going to come back as a stronger player. Next, Ryan Peniston makes progress in Wimbledon. Ryan Peniston is a 26-year-old wildcard entry in Wimbledon. He is currently the 126th ranked player in the world, and he was scheduled to face off against world number 95, Henri Laaksonen. Most people thought Peniston would lose the match, but he ended up turning things around, won the match, and made it to the second round. He's one of the few wildcards to have had a decent showing during this tournament, as his fellow wildcard, Katie Swan, lost to Ukrainian player Marta Kostyuk. Peniston is likely not going to win this tournament outright, but he certainly has the potential to make it far. He's actually a childhood cancer survivor, and his story about how he made it this far is quite inspirational. It'll be interesting to see where this career goes. And finally, Andy Murray beats Duckworth. Andy Murray is undoubtedly one of the greatest male tennis players of the 21st century. With career earnings of over $62 million, 2 Wimbledon wins, and 2 US Open wins under his belt, he certainly doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. But still, at 36 years old, many are starting to doubt his abilities. Well, to prove them all wrong, Murray pulled off a stunning victory against world number 74, James Duckworth, during the first round at Wimbledon. This is his first major win at Wimbledon since Murray received emergency hip surgery back in 2019. Many believe that he would never pick up a tennis racket again, but now he might just win Wimbledon for the 3rd time. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the Halle finals could have gone any other way? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.